I was in 4th grade when the teacher asked me to present my poem in front of the class. I was doing so well when suddenly the whole room started to stink. Goodness, that fart could ruin lives. Someone from the back jokingly said,
Ha 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 ha! I bet it's Tina.
"What? No, it's not me."
Look at her face. Of course it's her.
I kept protesting, but no one believed me. The teacher told me to leave the class and sent me to the bathroom. When I looked in the mirror, it suddenly hit me why everyone thought it was me. Hi, my name is Tina, and I have something called idiopathic craniofacial erythema, where simply put, I blush a lot. It might sound cute, but I turn crazy red whenever I feel anything. Whether I'm embarrassed, guilty, stressed, angry. Just name an emotion, and I'm a tomato. Please like and subscribe before I tell you how this condition changed my life forever. It was never easy to have everyone know what I was feeling, but it got even worse when Dad started working as a janitor at a posh private high school, and I got enrolled for free. But Dad, I don't think I'll fit in. They're all probably billionaires, and they'll just turn up their noses at me when they find out you work there.
I don't want you to tell anyone that I'm your dad, okay? I don't want anything to be harder for you. And you're just as smart and deserving as any kid out there. So don't let anyone make you feel otherwise.
But as expected, school was a nightmare. On my first day, the school queen, Diane, and her gang immediately noticed me. Their eyes were scanning me up and down, and it was really freaking me out.
You're pretty, but do you own a private island?
Oh, is that a requirement here?
Not really, but everyone here is rich. So I'm just checking which richness level you belong to.
I felt so annoyed. I turned as red as her lipstick, but they thought I was just embarrassed.
Aw, you're blushing. Don't worry, I'm the only one who has a private island. But at least tell me you have a private jet.
One of her minions butted in.
I don't think she does, Diane. Look at that cheap secondhand bag from Walmart.
Diane looked horrified. Yes, of course, I do. Who doesn't have a jet these days? I came in the limo because the jet has gone for maintenance. Just then, I saw my dad mopping the floor nearby. And even though he was poker-faced, I'm pretty sure he'd heard me.
Boring. But since you're pretty, you can join our gorgeous gang. We'll make your school experience beautiful like me.
Suddenly, someone whispered.
Good luck.
I turned around and instantly started blushing. Oh my, he was the cutest guy I'd ever seen.
Hi, I'm Brian.
He greeted me and I could feel my face turning red.
Ew! Why are you so red? You look like a stupid tomato.
Forget about the gorgeous gang. I don't want a freak with us. She's probably simping hard on Brian.
Well, Brian is only available for me, right, babe?
Come on, Diane. How many times do I have to tell you that we're not together?
Yeah, I hear you, babe.
I was so relieved to hear that Brian didn't like Diane, but I was sure it was becoming way too obvious to him that I was crushing hard. So I excused myself and ran away. I knew I'd have to avoid him, but that wasn't easy when we had all our classes together. During chemistry, he sat down next to me. Just then, the teacher started demonstrating sugar dehydration and asked us why sugars turned into black toothpaste after sulfuric acid is added. Everyone looked at her like she'd spoken Chinese. But I knew the answer. Because the sulfuric acid removes water from the sugar, releasing heat, steam, and sulfur oxide fumes. It also smells like caramel. Everyone looked uber impressed. Just then, Brian scooted closer to me and whispered,
I didn't know your brain is as pretty as your face.
Immediately, I turned horribly red.
What's wrong with you? Is that thing infectious?
I could see the girls snickering. What a total jerk. My blushing disease wasn't the only thing that was ruining things at school. It wasn't long before Diane realized I'd never worn anything that screamed $1 million. One day in the canteen, she suddenly came up to me and knocked my lunch tray off the table.
I've been watching you go to school every day and you're just walking.
I instantly turned red, totally furious. Before I could attack her, Dad was suddenly by my side.
That's an awful thing to do to a new student, Miss.
Diane looked like she was about to explode.
Excuse you. Who are you, her dad? Just do your job, you stupid janitor. And that's to clean up our mess. Here's some more for you.
And with that, Diane suddenly kicked the cart and spilled all the chemicals and trash onto the floor.
Do your work properly, or I'll tell my parents they can easily get you kicked out of here.
That's not how you should treat janitors, Diane. They work really hard to make sure the school is nice and clean for us. In fact, you shouldn't be allowed to speak like this to anyone.
Avenue. So am I supposed to cry and hug him for giving me his lame opinion?
No, but you're supposed to treat hardworking people with respect. Imagine how you'd feel if someone treated you that way.
And why do I need to imagine that? I'm pretty rich. I'm never going to be a janitor. I'm going to be sitting in a nice big office one day, running Daddy's business.
The principal, Miss Sheldon, suddenly arrived and asked what was going on. Diane immediately transformed into an angel.
Oh, nothing. The janitor just spilled his stuff and I was helping him.
She's lying. She kicked his things on purpose and was being horrible to him. I was sure Miss Sheldon was going to tell her off, but she just looked uncomfortable and told everyone to go to their classes. I was so angry that she didn't stand up for Dad just because Diane's rich parents gave a lot of donations to the school. That night, Dad surprised me with a beautiful birthday cake.
Yeah, happy birthday, sweetheart.
I'd completely forgotten I was turning 17 today. Thank you, Dad. I'm really sorry about how horrible Diane was to you. I wish I could just punch her in the face. Even the principal didn't do anything.
I'm sure she didn't have a choice, honey. She can't afford to make someone like Diane's parents angry.
But that's so unfair.
Well, I'm sure when you're rich one day, you'll treat people around you much better. Now don't worry about it anymore and open your gifts.
I was shocked to see some branded bags, shoes, and clothes. How did you afford these?
I had some money saved up. This will hopefully get those girls off your back for a while.
I hugged him and promised myself that someday I was going to spoil him and make him proud. But a few months later, my world turned upside down when he suffered from a heart attack and fell into a coma. I didn't know what to do, and how was I going to pay the hospital bills? When I told the principal, I broke down into tears, and she comforted me.
You don't have to worry about anything, Tina. I'll talk to the school board and we'll still keep you in school free of charge.
That's really kind of you, but I have another favor to ask. Please hire me in Dad's place. I really need a salary.
Tina, I'm not sure you want to work here. Maybe I could lend you some money.
Thank you, Miss Sheldon, but I'd rather work for it. Please? She was hesitant, but eventually agreed to hire me, and she was generous enough to double Dad's salary. When Diane saw me in my uniform for the first time, she cackled with delight.
I knew it. You're the janitor's daughter. It's a shame to have a poor freak like you here in my school.
The only thing that's a shame is that there are people like you in the world. Now please get out of my way. In between classes, I'd mop the floor and clean everyone's trash, and whenever I did, Diane would be there to mock me. One time, she peeled a banana and threw the peel right at my face.
Oops, sorry. I mistook your face for a trash can.
One day, we were in the middle of an exam, and she excused herself to go to the bathroom. When she came back, she complained that the toilet was clogged and I needed to go fix it. But I'm still answering my exam.
You're the janitor here, right? Do your work now.
I was furious. When I checked it, she had purposely stuffed a lot of tissue paper in the toilet. And even worse, she'd written the worst possible things on the bathroom walls. The next time Diane complained about the clogged toilet, I finally spoke up. Ugh, how long should I suffer from your constipation, Diane? I'm dying from the smell. Diane turned red with anger when others laughed.
I didn't poop, dummy.
Then, why's the toilet always clogged? It was now her turn to blush and walk out in embarrassment. One day, when I was in the janitor's closet, I was surprised to see a boy coming in with a paper bag on his head. But I knew exactly who he was. Brian, why are you wearing that?
Because you blush hard every time you see my handsome face.
Oh, wow. Not only was he a little jerk, but he was also really full of himself. He got rid of the paper bag and held my hand. Surprisingly, I felt nothing.
Listen, what you did with Diane a while ago was so cool. It was the first time someone stood up to her, and I'm impressed. Do you want to hang out sometime?
I was about to say no when suddenly he leaned in for a kiss. I was blushing now, but in panic. Before our lips touched, the closet was suddenly opened by a super jealous Diane.
You're gonna pay for hitting on my future boyfriend, Tina. You'll see.
One evening, when I was studying for a big test, the principal called me.
I'm really sorry, Tina, but the jocks and the cheerleaders had a big party at the gym, and we need the place clean for an assembly tomorrow morning. It shouldn't take too long.
But when I got to school, I realized to my horror that not just the gym, but the whole school was a total mess. There was trash everywhere and stuff written on the walls. All the toilets were also clogged with tissue paper. Of course, I knew the culprit. I had to finally teach Diane a lesson. I took pictures of all the mess. Then I went to her locker and opened it up using a hairpin. I grinned when I saw what was in there. There was still room for a few things, so I took out the tissue papers from all the toilets and stuffed them in her precious locker. Perfect. Then an idea came to mind. I sneaked into the laboratory and mixed up a few chemicals together. I put my formula on a sponge and wiped it across the wall. The ink came off instantly. I sat down to rest for a while and I just fell asleep there. The next morning, I woke up to everyone gathered around me, and Diane was screaming.
That freak ruined my locker. She did it.
The principal walked into the scene. It's true I did that, Miss Sheldon. But look at what she and her minions did to the school before I cleaned it all up. Miss Sheldon looked horrified to see the pictures on my phone. She turned angrily to Diane.
Diane, you have no respect for the people who work here or for the school property. If you think I will keep tolerating such behavior, you are very much mistaken.
Ms. Sheldon, you know who my parents are, right?
Yes, I do. And I will be calling them right now. I'm going to talk to the school board about having you expelled.
Everyone around us erupted into cheers as Miss Sheldon and a very furious Diane walked into her office. She had been bullying everyone way too long. Long story short, Diane was expelled, and even her minions were suspended. I was about to graduate high school in a few months, and I kept thinking about the formula that I tried in the school lab. I continued testing it at home, and after a few weeks, I felt I'd really perfected it. I set up a website and put up a small video of me cleaning the toughest stains with my invention, and to my surprise, it went viral. I had orders pouring in so fast, I was working day and night to meet the demand. 2 weeks later, an investor contacted me, and fast forward to a couple more months, I was earning millions. I transferred Dad to a better hospital, and just a month later, he finally woke up. I told him everything that happened.
I'm so proud of you, Tina.
I went off to college, but Dad and I continued my business together and moved into a mansion. We supply our invention to a lot of schools for free to make the jobs of janitors easier everywhere. Oh, and I also found out that my condition could be easily fixed by a small surgery, and I could certainly afford it now. Finally, I could keep some secrets.
Hi, I'm Michael from Chicago. Please like and subscribe. I was born to the kindest people you'll ever meet. My dad owned a giant tech company, and we were wealthy. But my parents were always caring and generous and taught me to be the same. When I was in the first grade, my parents took me to an amusement park for my birthday, and as we were leaving, I suddenly spotted a boy crying behind a bench. I realized it was Ethan from my class. He was a giant bully, but I couldn't just leave him there. Just, hey, Ethan, are you lost? Let me help you. My parents and I searched for his parents all over the giant park and finally found them after 2 hours. It turned out that Ethan's dad was my dad's biggest business rival. His parents didn't even thank us and just took him away. Rude. I thought after what happened, maybe Ethan and I could be friends. But the next day at school, I was walking down the hallway when he suddenly pinned me against the wall.
If you tell anyone you saw me crying, I will deal with you. Do you get me?
I won't. But how about you stop being a jerk to me?
Why? I still don't like your face.
He pulled my bag and threw it across the hall, sending my things flying everywhere as he laughed and ran away. Things never got better. He kept being a jerk, and my revenge was beating him in both studies and sports. Everyone else at school really liked me, but I always tried to be kind and helpful. Once in 8th grade, I was helping our driver wash the cars when I noticed something heartbreaking at the gate. It was a girl my age, searching the trash for food. I walked up to her, but suddenly she dashed away like a cheetah. Wait, come back, I don't want to hurt you. But she was so fast I couldn't keep up. We have lots of food in the house, even cakes. I'll get you some. She stopped immediately, then slowly walked back to me.
Cakes!
So when I told my parents about her, they immediately invited her for lunch. Her name was Veronica, and she gobbled up her food like she hadn't eaten in weeks. Veronica started coming to our house every day after that. She never talked about her family. Whenever I asked, she got moody, so I dropped it. One day we were having lunch when we heard a loud knock on the door, and seconds later, a huge man barged into the dining room.
Veronica, it's time to go home.
Hey, I don't know who you are, but it looks like she doesn't want to go with you.
I'm her father, and I don't need your charity. Stay away from my child. Veronica, we're leaving now.
She crept out and he led her away. She didn't come again. My parents and I were really upset and contacted child services to try to track Veronica down. It turned out her father was a wanted criminal. He was arrested soon after and sent to jail, while Veronica ended up with some nice foster parents, who even enrolled her in my school. Hey, I'm really sorry about your dad.
It's okay. I don't really miss him. He wasn't very nice. He often forgot to get me food and made me leave school because he was on the run.
That's awful, but it's all in the past now.
Yeah, and I wanted to stay there. I don't ever want to talk about it again.
Pinky swear we won't talk about it again. I wanted to give Veronica a present for her first day at my school. So I asked my mom to take me to the mall and picked out a beautiful red sweater for her. I waited for her at the school gate. She was late, and I was beginning to panic. What if she decided she didn't want to go to school anymore? Thankfully, she showed up.
You thought I'd change my mind, right?
Yeah, you had me a bit worried. Here, I got you something.
Oh, it's so pretty. And red's my favorite color. Thank you.
She hugged me, and I felt a million butterflies in my stomach.
Whoa, who's this babe, and why are you hugging that cockroach, babe?
I was about to tell Ethan off, but Veronica spoke up first.
I don't know who you are, jerk, but don't talk to us again. Come on, Michael, let's go.
Veronica fit in easily and was making new friends in no time. I was a little jealous that I didn't have her all to myself, but I was glad she was enjoying school.
Guess what I did today? I joined the track team.
That's awesome. I'm sure you'll beat everyone. I'm still trying to catch my breath from the first time I chased you.
The secret to slowing me down is to say, hey, I got cakes. I'll probably stop running and follow that person.
Having Veronica around was a dream come true, and I was just falling more in love with her. One day after school, I was looking for Veronica when I found her in the hallway with Ethan. Hey, is he bothering you? Ethan, just back off.
Whoa, calm down. He's part of the track team, and we're going to an event together.
That's Ethan. He's been a jerk to me since we were kids.
But he's my teammate, Michael. And actually, he's not that bad.
Come on, Veronica, we're running out of time. Get it?
Veronica laughed out loud and walked away with him. What? It was a terrible joke, but from that day on, Ethan was always around Veronica, and it burned my heart. Veronica was so good on the track that she was winning medals in no time. She became really popular and was always hanging out with the cool kids now. But one night in the 10th grade, I was studying for a test when Veronica crept through my window.
Hey, Michael, I missed you.
Really? You bailed on our plans like 100 times.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. So listen, Ethan took me out for a drive, and I completely forgot about this big math test tomorrow. Will you help me, please?
Okay, I'm studying right now, so pull up a chair.
Oh, not right now. I mean, can you help me during the test tomorrow?
You mean cheat? You know I never do that.
But I'm going to fail, Michael.
Yeah, well, that happens when you hang out with people like Ethan. Keep doing that, and he'll ruin you.
If you can't help me, at least don't give me a lecture. Thanks for nothing. I'm sure Ethan will think of something.
And with that, she left. The next day, I spotted a shy girl in our class, passing cheat sheets to Veronica and Ethan during the test. That was Ethan's solution, bullying other kids to help them cheat. But just then, the teacher caught the girl and took her off to the principal. Moments later, Ethan and Veronica were called out too and then suspended for a week. I really hoped that Veronica had learned her lesson. But a week later, I found her and Ethan cornering the shy girl in the hallway.
You're supposed to be one of the smartest girls in class, so how come you're so stupid? You ratted us out to the principal. You know what we do to snitches.
And can you stop crying? You got snot on your face, and it's gross.
What the heck? Veronica was a bully. Veronica, what's wrong with you? Knock it off and leave her alone.
Mind your business, nerd.
I wasn't talking to you, jerk.
Well, you're talking to my fist now.
And then Ethan punched me. I tackled him to the ground, and we both wrestled like crazy until some teacher stopped us. For the first time ever, I landed in detention. Veronica tried to talk to me, but I just walked past her. I completely avoided her for the next few days. But then one evening, the police arrived at our house with some news about her dad. He was really sick and was being transferred to another city for treatment right away. He wanted to meet Veronica before he left. She wasn't answering my calls, so I went to her house. Her foster parents told me she was at Ethan's place for a party. Great. It was the last place I wanted to go. But I had to tell her. As I looked around for her, my heart suddenly dropped to my stomach. Veronica was in the corner with her arms around Ethan, and then she kissed him. Veronica, I need to talk to you. It's urgent.
What are you doing here, man? You're not welcome in my house.
It's not like I want to be here. Veronica, listen.
I'm going to call security.
Michael, can you please leave? I don't want you creating a scene in front of my friends.
She started walking away, and suddenly I felt a wave of rage. Is that all you care about now? I thought you'd like to know that your dad is sick, and he wants you to see him before he's shifted to another prison. The loud music suddenly died as I shouted, and everyone stared at us.
What, your dad's in prison?
You're some criminal's daughter?
Veronica burst into tears and ran out. Veronica, please stop. I'm sorry, She suddenly turned around and pushed me so hard that I fell to the ground.
It's the one thing I ever asked you, Michael. I said I never wanted to talk about my dad, and you decided to announce it?
I didn't mean to, but I had to tell you about him, and you wouldn't listen.
I think you can't stand that I have other friends, and you just wanted to ruin that. Do you think I should be eternally grateful to you and not have a life of my own because you saved me from a dumpster?
Veronica...
Just leave me alone.
The next day at school, everyone had heard about her dad, and her friends had dropped her like a dead fly. I tried sitting next to her at lunch, but she immediately walked away. But later that day, I saw Ethan and her holding hands, and she didn't look so sad anymore. I stayed away from them and tried to focus on schoolwork. Dad asked me to start coming into his office after school to learn more about our business, and I was happy to keep myself busy. Our tech company was launching new gadgets soon, and I was quite excited to be a part of it. But a few weeks later, I woke up to really loud voices downstairs. I went running and found my parents watching the news. I couldn't believe my eyes. Ethan's dad was on TV introducing a prototype of the gadget our company had been working on.
I just don't understand how our plans were leaked. My office is secure, and my home study is always locked. I just can't believe anyone working for me would betray me. This is terrible news. All our investors will be furious, and our company is going to take a huge hit.
And it did. The company suffered huge losses, and there was no way to prove the theft. I went to school a week after the whole disaster, and I couldn't bear to even look at Ethan. His dad was a crook. But later that day, I was going to sit on the bleachers when I spotted Veronica yelling at him.
How could you do this? You told me those files were about some small project Michael was working on, and you'd mess up the plans to embarrass him in front of his dad. You never said it was something that could bring his parents' company down.
Oh, okay. I lied. Boo-hoo. I didn't make you do anything. You got those files for me and then put them back, remember?
I was angry. I only wanted to humiliate Michael. You went too far, and I thought you loved me.
It's not my fault you're stupid. You really thought I loved you, daughter of a felon.
Veronica, you did this? I couldn't believe it. The girl I loved was responsible for our ruin.
Michael, please wait. He lied to me. I didn't know what he was doing. I just wanted to mess with you because I was upset. I never meant to hurt your parents.
Don't ever speak to me again. All I've done since I met you is love you, and you stabbed me in the back.
Wait, you love me?
Not anymore. Now I wish I'd never met you. The next few days at school, she didn't show up, and I didn't care. One day I was in my room when Mom came in.
Honey, we went to Veronica's foster home and they told us she ran away. I'm so sorry.
Whatever, good riddance.
Michael, that's unkind.
Mom, you still think she deserves kindness after what she did?
I'm sure she got manipulated by that boy. Remember, she had a rough past, and maybe she was just trying to fit in and be loved. I know what she did was awful, but she was a good girl, and I hope she's okay.
Mom's attitude made me feel ashamed of myself, and I soon started regretting the things I said. But I couldn't take it back because Veronica had vanished. In a shocking turn of events, an employee from Ethan's dad's company came forward with proof that the product had been stolen from us. They had to pay millions in damages, while his dad served time in prison. The family moved away and I never saw Ethan again. High school passed fast enough, and after graduating from university, I joined Dad's company and helped build it to newer heights. One day I was at a shopping mall when I caught sight of a girl who looked like Veronica. My heart was pounding as I ran after her, but by the time I got outside, she was nowhere to be seen.
Michael, is that you?
Oh my God, Veronica. I've always wondered what I'd do if I ever saw you again. I don't even know what to say, except that I'm so happy you're okay.
Michael, I thought of this meeting a million times too, and I really need to say that I'm so sorry. I was so stupid, and I knew even then that you'd never hurt me on purpose. But I ended up hurting you and your family so much, I left because I couldn't face you guys anymore. Please say you'll forgive me.
I hugged her and we sat on a bench and talked. After she ran away, she ended up in a foster home again and got adopted by some really nice people. I was so glad her life hadn't been miserable. As I loaded her groceries in her car, I spotted something in her back seat. It was the red sweater I'd given her in the 8th grade. Veronica, do you think I can call you sometime and ask you out on a date? I've wanted to since forever.
You can ask me right now, and my answer is yes. Hi, I'm Bella from New York. Before I tell you my story, please like and subscribe. My aunt said my parents had an accident when I was a baby. And since then, I've lived with her and my cousin Lucy. But you never guessed another kid lived in this house. All the wall frames had pictures of just Aunt and Lucy. Lucy had the biggest room, bursting with toys and books. Lucy had so many clothes she had another room as a closet. And me, well, I lived in the attic with her hand-me-downs. But I didn't care. All I ever really wanted was for Aunt to love me like she loved Lucy. So I did whatever Aunt asked me. I served her breakfast in bed, polished her shoes, painted her nails. But somehow she was just never happy. Once when I was 10, a new neighbor came to visit Aunt, and she looked awestruck when she saw me.
What a beautiful child. That gorgeous red hair and those adorable dimples.
Adorable? They're just dents in her face. Stop smiling, Bella. You look like a moron. Go get us tea.
I went to the kitchen, spat in Aunt's tea, and gave her the cup with a very serious face there. But soon after I turned 13, my whole life was transformed. One day at breakfast, Aunt was going through the mail when suddenly she spat out her cereal. Just then, I saw the letter she was reading. It had my name on it. Hey, what's that? But Aunt had already jumped off her chair and she threw the letter in the fireplace. Why'd you do that? It was mine. I saw my name.
And who would write to you? You didn't see anything.
As she stormed off, I couldn't help thinking, who would write to me? A few days later, the doorbell rang and a postman was standing outside.
Express delivery for Ms. Bella.
Suddenly, a flying figure pushed me aside and attacked the postman. Oh my God, Aunt! I tried snatching the letter from her, but she was off with it like a bullet. What the freaking turtle? What was she hiding? I was dying to find out, but the letter stopped coming. But one evening when the bell rang, Aunt ran to open the door. And standing outside were 2 bodyguards with a wealthy-looking man.
Can you explain what happened to the letters and plane tickets I sent for my daughter?
Wait, what? Just then the man spotted me, and his eyes welled up.
Oh my God, you must be Bella. You look exactly like your mother. I'm your dad, sweetie.
Dad? You're my dad? Why didn't you come for me before? He tearfully explained that he and Mom had gotten divorced before I was born, and she told him never to get in touch. He found out just recently that Mom had an accident so long ago, and he tracked me down. As we hugged tight, I turned around to Aunt. You made me think he wasn't even alive. And why were you keeping the letters from me?
Because you don't deserve to go live like a princess. You should be my maid, after everything I've done for you.
Used to you? I did everything you ever asked just so you'd love me. Did you ever love me at all? Even a little?
No, how could I?
Dad told me to pack my things immediately, but before going, I made sure to rub Aunt's toothbrush inside the toilet. Then I took Dad's hand and left without even saying goodbye. We flew over to New York, and I was shocked at the size of Dad's mansion. My room was 5 times bigger than Lucy's. This was freaking awesome. As Dad was showing me around the house, I suddenly saw a tall woman staring at me coldly from a distance. Dad was married, so that must be my stepmom.
Mary, there you are. Come meet Bella.
But Mary just turned away and slammed the door behind her. Later that night, I walked past their bedroom to hear Dad and Mary talking in loud voices.
It's her first day here, Mary. Think how unwelcome she must have felt.
What about me? You just expect you'll bring a child home and I'll start loving her like she's my own.
I crept away without hearing any more. Great! Another mom figure who already hated me. When I went down for breakfast the next morning, Dad greeted me with a smile, and so did Mary.
Sorry, Bella. I wasn't feeling too well yesterday. I hope you slept well.
Yeah, as if she cared. When I asked Dad for the orange juice, Mary quickly got up to pour it for me, and she dropped the whole jug in my lap. Oh my God, what are you doing?
I'm so sorry, it just slipped from my hands.
I know you don't want me here, but you don't have to be so petty. With that, I stormed off. Her whole innocent act was fake, and she proved me right soon enough. A few days later, I was walking over to the sofa in the living room when suddenly I tripped over something. I went flying straight into this weird statue. I stared at the wreck in horror. Mary leapt up angrily from her armchair.
Oh my God! How could you be so clumsy? Do you know what that's worth?
Just then, Dad burst into the room, and behind him were some guests.
What happened? We heard a loud crash.
Oh, honey. Bella broke the statue by accident, but thankfully she's not hurt.
Dad looked really upset, but stayed silent. I couldn't stop myself, though. You were just shouting at me, but the minute Dad came in, you became an angel.
What? No, I was just shocked. I didn't mean to shout.
Stop acting, Mary. You just want me to look bad in front of Dad. I think you tripped me up with your leg.
What? You little brat! How dare you? You must have tripped on the carpet.
That's enough. In case you both forget we have guests, Bella, please go to your room.
I walked off angrily and slammed my door shut. I didn't trust her one bit. Dad got me enrolled in school soon, and I felt nervous walking into the huge building. A few kids were looking at me, and I smiled. And suddenly, a bunch of boys were surrounding me.
Oh my God, can you do that again?
Do what?
Smile, please. Smile again.
I did, and all the boys just stared at me. What was wrong with my smile?
Those dimples are so freaking cute. I could just look at them all day. Wow. These dents in my face, like boys like these.
Just then, a girl pushed through the crowd.
Get away from her, you morons. You're scaring her. Hi, I'm Nora, and I don't have a redhead in my group. You look nice and rich, so we're friends now, okay?
Well, she wasn't really giving me a choice. I was part of her popular girls gang now. I loved my new school. But it started bothering me really soon that Nora could be rather mean to other kids. I tried to tell her a few times, but she always said she was only joking. But then, one day, I walked into the cafeteria and I saw her and her friends making fun of a kid on crutches.
Hey, Limpy, what would happen if I took away one of your legs?
And with that, she pulled away a crutch, and he landed hard on the ground. Nora, are you crazy? He's already hurt. Why are you bothering him?
Oh, come on. We're just joking around.
But it's not funny. You're just being a jerk bully.
Hey, no one talks to me like that, tomato girl.
She pounced on me and pinned me against the wall. I pushed her back, and she went crashing straight into the chemistry teacher walking by. He dropped all the bottles he was holding, and the vile smell of chemicals had everyone gagging and running out of there. And Nora and I got suspended for a week. Dad would be so disappointed. When I went down that evening to tell him, he wasn't in his study. But I found freaking Nora poking her nose through his things. She just picked up a pen and put it in her pocket. What are you doing in my house?
Your house? You live here? Since when?
You're interrogating me, you thief. Put that pen back right now or else.
Or else? What does that even mean?
I leapt at her, trying to reach her pocket as she fought back and screamed. Suddenly, we were pulled apart by Mary and another woman.
This witch attacked me. She's the one who got me suspended too. Mom.
Bella, Nora is my guest. Her mom and I are friends. What's going on here?
I guess I just have better taste in friends than you. I brushed past her and stormed off. Of course, Mary was friends with awful people like herself. A few days later, Dad was away on a business trip, and someone quietly opened my door at midnight. To my surprise, it was Mary with a hand behind her back. What? What do you want?
Your dad told me it's your birthday, and I just came to say, well, happy birthday.
She stepped forward with a cake with candles on it. I never had a birthday cake before. I thanked her awkwardly, and she sat down on the bed.
Bella, I think we got off on the wrong foot, and I'd really like to start over. Maybe we can get to know each other better.
She looked really sincere, and I wondered if I'd judged her too quickly. Yeah, I think I'd like that, Mary. We started hanging out more, and I found myself actually liking her. She took me to lovely cafes, shows, and galleries around New York. She had the best taste in clothes, and shopping with her was so much fun. Soon after Dad returned, Mary threw me the most amazing birthday party ever. It was the best day of my life. A couple of months later, there was a dance in school, and I'd been asked out by this new boy who had all the girls drooling. That evening, I wore a gorgeous dress Mary had picked out for me. She'd even done my hair and makeup. I received so many compliments, and my date just couldn't keep his eyes off of me. We were slow dancing to a song when suddenly someone pulled the back of my dress really hard, and I heard the fabric rip. Oh my God. I turned around in horror to see Nora grinning and holding part of my dress. But everyone was staring at my back, at a long, ugly scar.
Look, Marcus. Look at that disgusting thing on her back. It's like she's freaking Frankenstein.
Suddenly, I leapt forward and slapped her hard. The only monster here, Nora, is you. I ran out in angry tears and got into my car. I didn't care if anyone knew about my stupid scar, but the only person who could have told Nora about it was Mary. She'd seen it when she was helping me try on a dress one day. I burst into the living room and started screaming. How could you be such a witch, Mary? You almost made me believe you cared about me.
What? What are you talking about? What happened to your dress?
Nora ripped my dress because you told her about this scar. Even Dad doesn't know. I only told you, and you thought it could be something you tell Nora to use against me. You're the most horrible person I know. You're even worse than my aunt. I hate you. As I cried furiously in my room, Dad came in and hugged me.
Sweetheart, there must be some mistake. Mary wouldn't do this.
She would. She did. No one else could. Don't defend her, Dad. So if Nora thought I was going to be embarrassed and hide, she was so wrong. I went back to school the next day, expecting weird looks and comments. But what happened left me shocked. The principal walked in during the first lesson and said,
The entire class came to me this morning to complain about an incident at the dance yesterday. And there is no way that I will tolerate this kind of behavior in my school. Nora, you're expelled.
As Nora stared at her in horror, the whole class erupted into cheers and applause. This totally made up for everything. When I got home that afternoon, I heard screams from the living room. It was Nora's mom.
No one had been spying on Bella. Your stupid maid saw her scar one day and told us. And so what? My daughter played a harmless little prank, and now she deserves to be exposed, expelled, her entire future destroyed. All because of that stupid, disfigured, red-haired witch.
Don't you dare talk like that about my daughter.
And with that, Mary punched her.
Get out of my house. You are not welcome here.
However, as the butlers let her out and she went screaming, Mary suddenly saw me and I started to cry. I'm so sorry, Mary, for thinking it was you. I've had a hard time believing you could really care for me. I heard you the first day you said you couldn't love me like your own, and I guess I've been scared to love you in case you didn't love me back.
Oh, darling, I said that? Yes, because I couldn't love you right away. It was all so new for me, too. I've never been anyone's mom, but I've tried so hard to get to know you and love you. And I really do now. Bella, I love you. You're my daughter as much as your dad's now.
I love you too. Hello, my name is Moana, and I'm from Hawaii. Please like and subscribe. Growing up, what I hated most was when my parents argued and yelled at each other. And it happened a lot. But there were some moments when we'd all laugh together. Like when I turned 3, Dad came home with the biggest unicorn doll for me, and Mom baked my favorite vanilla cake. It was the happiest day of my life.
Moana, you're the best thing that's ever happened. When you were born, our world changed.
Yes, darling. You mean everything to us.
Mom worked as a secretary at a big insurance company, and Dad worked at a local store, so we lived a pretty average life. But then one day, when I was 4, Mom came home driving her boss's expensive car and told Dad that she was leaving him. Please don't go, Mom. I love you.
Oh, my baby. Tell you what, you will visit me at my new house every weekend.
I watched Mom pack her bags and drive away. And Dad was so sad. He told me that he and Mom were now separated. Months later, he took me to visit her at her new fancy house, and she was sitting with her boss, carrying a new baby.
Mana, I'd like you to meet your baby sister, Louisa.
Louisa was the luckiest little baby because her dad bought her all the toys in the world. I liked going to their mansion, and Mom would be so happy every time I visited. But soon, Louisa started crying so hard for Mom's attention that it became difficult for us to spend any time together. Once, when I was 5 and Louisa was a toddler, Mom took us to the zoo and bought us both candy. But Louisa threw hers into the raccoon cage, and then she started crying hysterically for more. She even started pulling Mom's hair, and I gave her my candy so she'd calm down and give Mom a break.
Oh, Moana, thank you so much. You've always been such an understanding child. I hope your sister grows up to be just like you.
Thanks, Mom. I just want you to be happy. Since Mom had left, Dad always tried to hide his sadness and make me laugh with his jokes and dramatic bedtime stories. And I tried my best to always make him proud and happy too. Once, in 2nd grade, Dad came to my school for a parent-teacher meeting, and my teacher Sina told him all sorts of nice things about me since I was the top student in her class.
Wow, I'm so proud of you, darling.
You should be. Moana is a very special little girl.
Right after the meeting, Dad invited Sina to come with us. For pizza. He looked really happy around her. And soon after, he started seeing her more often. And I didn't mind at all because she was very nice to me. Once, in 4th grade, we went to the skate park together, and Sina showed me how to skateboard.
Okay, I'm not letting go of your hand until you're strong on your feet.
I think I can skateboard on my own. Look! I let go of her grip and jumped up, feeling as if I were flying. And then suddenly my leg twisted and I fell down hard. I felt dizzy, and I saw Sina running towards me as I blacked out. I was rushed to the hospital, and my leg was put through so many scans and then bandaged up. Sina couldn't stop crying.
This is all my fault. I'm so sorry, Moana.
No, please don't blame yourself. I wanted to do that on my own. Dad hugged Sina to make her feel better. And just then, Mom barged in with Louisa.
How could you let this happen?
She started yelling at Dad, and they both got into a big argument, forgetting all about me. Guys, stop! Everyone looked at me, and then Louisa came closer to my bed, looking angry.
I had a big concert today. I was the lead. But now I'm here because Mom was worried about you. You ruined my concert.
Louisa, you can't speak to your sister like that. She just got injured.
Louisa pulled an ugly face at me, and just then, the doctor walked in with some bad news. He told my parents that my leg would never be normal again. I walked with a limp, and at school I couldn't participate in any sports. But I still remained the top student in the class, and everyone was so nice to me, since I'd never had trouble making friends. And I always helped them with their homework. One day when I was in 7th grade, Sina watched how I helped some kids understand a math equation, and she was so impressed.
Moana, you would make a really good teacher one day.
Yes, I would love to be a teacher one day, just like you, Sina. Sina really cared about me, and when I was in 8th grade, Dad told me that he wanted to marry her. I was so happy for them. Dad even invited Mom and her family. This was his way of finally making peace. Just before the event started, I found Louisa standing and glaring at the big wedding cake. What are you doing here alone?
Whatever I want. This cake looks so delicious.
Yes, it is, but don't stand too close. We don't want any accidents. She smirked at me, and then suddenly, she stuck her finger out and scooped the frosting off the cake. Hey, you can't do that. But she just laughed and reached for the cake again. I ran forward to pull her away as she tried to push me off. We both started wrestling and crashed straight into the cake. Just then, Mom and Dad appeared, looking speechless.
What have you girls done?
It wasn't me, Dad. Honest. Mom surprised me when she yelled at Louisa.
I'm so tired of your behavior, Louisa. Your father has spoiled you so much that everywhere you go, you ruin things. Moana was such a good child compared to you.
Well, maybe I should tell Dad to send you back to your poor family.
Both Dad and I were so shocked at the way Louisa spoke to Mom. And after the wedding, when I visited Mom again, I noticed that Louisa was awful to Mom all the time and bossed her around because her dad gave her the power to do so.
Mom, my Prada jacket still has a stain. Get it cleaned right now. I need it for school.
Okay, dear.
Why are you so mean to Mom?
Because she never does anything right. And if she doesn't listen, my dad will kick her out.
She's our mom. Don't you love her?
Well, she loves you more. So I guess I love my dad more.
When I tried to talk to Mom about what was going on in her life, she told me not to worry and said she could handle it. There wasn't much I could do to help her. One day in 10th grade, I was studying in the school library when a boy came out and sat on the table opposite to me. I knew exactly who he was. Maui! He was one of the hot, popular guys at school and was reading one of my all-time favorite books. My eyes kept wandering to him now and then, and I tried not to make it too obvious, but he was just so gorgeous. And while I sat zoned out in my fantasy, he suddenly started waving in my face.
Hey, are you okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't staring. I was actually,
It's okay. I'm used to it. That's why I sometimes come in here to hide away from the girls coming after me. My parents wanted me to be a model because of all the attention I get.
Yes, you're very good looking. Modeling would suit you.
I actually like books and reading. I don't like being in the spotlight.
I was so surprised because I always saw him surrounded by girls. I was never after him because he was way out of my league. But after meeting him in the library, we actually became good friends because we had so much in common. One day, he asked if I'd like to see the latest Disney movie with him. And I was so excited that another kid in school liked that kind of stuff. We even dressed up like the characters and had the time of our lives. I'm so happy to finally have a Moana partner.
Me too! You're such a cool person to hang out with.
He looked deep into my eyes, and then he leaned over and kissed me. I was so shocked because it all felt like a dream. And then I looked down at my leg and started doubting myself and wondering if any of this was real.
Hey, what's wrong?
Maui, you're like the hottest guy on this planet, and there's so many pretty girls without any issues like mine. So why me?
There's nothing wrong with you, Moana. You're perfect.
Maui liked me just as I was, and I learned to love myself with my brokenness. Life at school felt great, until one day, Mom called me with some surprising news.
Honey, Louisa will be joining your school. She got expelled from her fancy private school because she was bullying kids.
But Mom, she won't fit in at my school.
No other school will accept her. Please look out for her and show her around. Maybe she can learn something from you.
The next day, Louisa walked into my school wearing a pink fluffy coat and black shades. Just as she approached me, a group of girls snuck up behind her and spray-painted her coat.
What is wrong with you fools? This is Dolce & Gabbana. Oh my gosh, you ruined it.
The girls went ballistic and lifted her off her feet.
What did you call us?
Put me down.
When I told the girls that she was my sister, they let her go.
What is wrong with the people in your school?
This is not one of your fancy schools, and all the newbies get spray-painted. It's tradition.
That's why I hated the idea of a public school. Poor people have no class.
She was such a snob. While I was showing Louisa around, we bumped into Maui, and he kissed me before running off to class. Louisa looked at me, stunned.
Oh my God, how did the hottest guy in school end up with you?
Why? What's wrong with me?
Everything! You're boring! You dress like a granny and you have a broken leg.
You're just a very ugly person inside and out, Louisa.
I'm going to steal him from you. Watch and see.
I wasn't threatened by my stupid sister. After school, when Maui walked me out to the gate, Louisa ran after us and slipped her number into his pocket. Before I could say anything, Maui spoke up.
Louisa, what's wrong with you? I'm with your sister, and I'm crazy about her. Please, just stay away from me.
I smiled widely as Louisa turned red. And just then, Sina came to pick me up. We had to wait till Mom came for Louisa, and she yelled on the phone at Mom for being late.
Hey, you can't speak to your mom that way!
Mind your own business, lady. You are not my stepmother.
Louisa was just out of control. I decided I was done with her. I completely ignored her for the next day at school. And during recess, she insulted some girls by calling them poor. And they all surrounded her, but I didn't run to her rescue.
Hey, aren't those girls hurting your sister?
Yes, but she can't control her awful mouth. Whatever happens to her, she deserves it.
Yeah, but she's still your sister.
Maui always had a way to make me think twice. So I stepped into the circle of girls and found my sister crying.
Moana, please tell them to bring back my bag.
Not until you promise to change your ways, especially how you speak to Mom.
I promise. Please, please save me from these mean girls.
It's not so nice when it's done to you, right? I told the girls to leave my sister alone, and then she joined me and Maui for lunch. And to my shock, she actually apologized for being a jerk.
I'm really sorry, Mona. I've always been mean to you and Mom because I always felt she loved you more. But today, when those girls were mean to me, I felt what it was like to be the weak one. I've hurt so many people already.
Well, it's never too late to change. Later that day, when my stepmom and Mom came to pick us up, Louisa apologized to both of them too. And then Sina told us some thrilling news. She was pregnant. Oh my God. What? I'm gonna be a big sister again.
That baby's lucky to have you, Moana.
And you, Louisa, will be the best big sisters ever.
While Mom was at work, I crept into her bedroom and searched her closet and all her drawers for evidence of something.
I lifted up a blanket from her bed and almost had a heart attack. Hi, I'm Nancy from China. See, my mom, she was the prettiest girl in our whole town. She literally won the Chinese beauty pageant 5 years in a row and became rich from it. Everyone would stop her in the streets to tell her how beautiful she was. Best of all, Dad adored Mom to bits and was always showering her with gifts. And then I was born.
Oh, darling, she looks exactly like you. Same lips and cheeks.
You and Nancy should compete in pageants together when she gets older.
Well, that's exactly what we did. When I was 3, Mom and I competed in duo pageants, winning every time and soaking out the glory. Then one day, when I was 10, I was in my dressing room when I heard Mom had to be rushed to the hospital.
What's going on? Is she hurt?
It's her skin. It's become completely wrinkled and inflamed. The doctors think she has a rare and untreatable condition.
What do you mean untreatable? I want to see my mom. Now!
No, Nancy, the pageant is in 3 minutes. You'll have to go on without her.
I was totally powerless, but I did end up winning first prize. Sadly, everyone was too depressed to celebrate. Mom looked like a freaking 80-year-old with red lumps on her face.
It's obvious. I won't be able to compete with you anymore. Look at me.
Mom, don't talk that way. Hell will always be beautiful in my eyes.
Oh, spare me. Nancy, I don't want your pity. I felt so awful.
And as I continued competing in pageants, people constantly compared me to my mom, especially my grandma.
It's heartbreaking what happened to my daughter's skin. It's too upsetting for me to visit her these days. At least you look the way she used to.
Their comments made me furious. I could feel Mom's growing resentment. Worst of all, the tension was affecting my parents' relationship, and they started fighting all the time. Finally, when I was 16, my parents divorced. Mom got custody since she'd been my primary caretaker, and it was then I decided I'd had enough.
I don't want to be in pageants anymore, Mom. I only did them in the first place because of you. And I don't like how bitter and jealous you get every time I compete.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why would I be jealous of my own daughter?
Gee, good question. All I know is it just got worse as I got older.
I quit pageants, and then Mom decided to move to the US, which was a big adjustment. And as soon as we settled, she became even more of a nightmare to be around.
That's a disgusting amount of makeup.
But I'm just wearing lip gloss.
Well, you're wearing too much for a girl your age. Wash it off right this second. I don't understand how you can eat all those pancakes and not blow up like a balloon.
Enjoy it while you can. Luckily, my new school became much happier than my home life. One day at school, I asked around to see if I could get an English tutor, since I still wasn't comfortable with the language. All the kids recommended the same guy, someone named Gavin.
He tutors for volunteer hours so it won't cost you anything.
Plus, he's gorgeous. Every girl at school has a crush on him.
Oh, well, I'm not looking to date at the moment. I just want to pass my classes.
But when I met Gavin in the library that day, my heart skipped 10 beats. He looked like a storybook prince. How could I concentrate on homework with that smoke show up in my space?
Are you okay? Your cheeks are bright red and you look adorable.
I do not look adorable. I mean, can we get to work, please? My homework isn't going to do itself.
We sat down to study, and I had to admit, Gavin was as brilliant as he was handsome. But when I started doing my math homework, he kept staring at me with his twinkling dark eyes, which made me nervous.
So are you free to go out this weekend?
Excuse me? I don't want to go out at all. You're just here to tutor me.
I know, but I can't fight my attraction for you. I've never believed in love at first sight until now.
Seriously, does anyone fall for your cringy pickup lines?
Face it, Nancy. I'm smart, I'm funny, and I have great hair. You won't be able to resist me for long.
I couldn't help rolling my eyes at that. Maybe I should get a new tutor. Except that same week, I ended up getting an A on 2 exams.
See? I don't disappoint. Now will you go out with me?
Just because you helped me get a good grade doesn't mean I owe you anything.
Come on, just one date.
With that, Gavin pulled out 2 tickets from his pocket, and holy crud, they were too astounding. Sasha Concert, my favorite singer.
I've been saving these for someone special, Nancy.
Okay, I'll go, but only because I'm a huge Sasha fan. But this is not a date.
The night of the concert, Gavin came to pick me up at 6. But the second Mom saw him, she looked furious and pulled me aside.
Where do you think you're going with that boy?
To Sasha's concert. I already told you I was going with a friend.
Please, do you really expect me to believe Mr. Heartthrob here is just a friend? He'll break your heart just like your father broke mine. You're not going to that concert.
But Sasha's my favorite singer, and you and I both know Dad didn't do anything wrong.
That comment made Mom so angry that she sent Gavin home and me up to my room. I was so mad I was shaking. Then suddenly I heard a noise from my bedroom. It was Gavin.
Hey, I think I'm stuck. You're gonna have to give me a hand.
Oh my God, are you trying to crawl into my room?
Well, you want to go to that concert, don't you? You said you're a huge fan, and if you can fit through this door, you probably won't get.
My heart fluttered as he smiled up at me. There wasn't any harm in going on a date with him, was there? So I crawled over and we went to the concert, and we're running over an hour late.
This is all Mom's fault. It's because of her. We left during rush hour. She's becoming even more of a train wreck since the divorce.
Your parents are divorced? Wow, small world.
Your parents are divorced too?
Well, actually, Mom left us a couple of days ago. She met some guy at work and is leaving my dad to be with him.
Wow, immense. So sorry.
It's fine, I'll get through it.
Gavin didn't seem to want to talk about it anymore. The concert was almost over when we arrived. But Gavin has an idea.
If we stood here, we would have time to listen to the last song.
The last song was a slow one, and I closed my eyes, swaying my shoulders in the wind.
I know your mom isn't perfect, but you sure are beautiful like her.
Ugh, I hate it when people compare me to my mom. Can I be my own person? I'm more than just a pretty face.
I know that. You also have pretty hair.
I slapped him right then, and he leaned in for a kiss. I felt fireworks between us. Then suddenly Gavin pulled away.
No, I can't do this.
What do you mean?
I don't want to fall for you. I'm scared of getting hurt. I don't want what happened to my parents to happen to us.
Dude, we're in high school. I'm gonna run off with some other guy. Your parents' failed relationship doesn't mean you have to live in fear.
But Gavin just said taking me to the concert was a mistake and started driving me home. I felt like such an idiot. Thankfully, Mom was in bed when I got home, and I fell asleep with no trouble. Then, at around 5 a.m., I felt someone's hands on my head. It was Mom.
Nancy goes back to sleep.
At that second, I spotted a pair of scissors in her hands.
What are you doing with those? And why are you holding a strand of my hair? Are you cutting my hair in my sleep?
I just need a couple of strands.
What? Why?
Please don't ask questions.
No, I will ask questions. You can't just cut my hair in my sleep without telling me why.
Watch your tone, young lady. I'm not doing anything wrong here. You need to learn to respect your elders and bite your tongue.
Mom stormed out of my room and slammed the door. She grounded me for a week, but I wasn't going to let her scare me. While Mom was at work, I crept into her bedroom and searched her closet and all her drawers for evidence of something. Then finally, I lifted up a blanket from her bed and almost had a heart attack. On her bed was an open cardboard box with a pile of my hair strands. How long had she been collecting my hair? I wasn't sure what she was going to do with it, but I knew one thing for sure. I needed to get away from her. I thought about booking a flight to China to go back and live with Dad. Except what if he didn't allow me to? The next day at school, I was in the library, when suddenly I saw Gavin sitting across from me reading a book. Oh darn, I'd forgotten to cancel our tutoring sessions.
Nancy, hey.
Hi, look, I won't be needing any more tutoring sessions. I'm moving back to China.
Wait, what? You're leaving?
Yes, and I don't know when I'll be back. You made the right choice not to kiss me at the concert. We would have both ended up hurt. Everyone I've ever been close to in my life has done me wrong or got separated from me. You were right to protect your heart, Gavin.
He stared at me with sad eyes, and I couldn't bear being around him anymore. I went back to the house so I could secretly pack my bags and leave home. But that night, Mom knocked on my door.
Do you have a minute?
What's going on? What's in that box?
Your 18th birthday is tomorrow, so I made you a present.
Oh man, my birthday. I'd completely forgotten. What's this?
You asked why I was collecting strands of your hair. Well, it was to make a quilt with something called dong tai hair embroidery. It's an old Chinese practice. You sew hair strands onto a piece of white silk. My grandmother started a tradition where a mother would embroider a piece, pass it down to their daughter, who would continue the work and keep working on it until it was finished. Then the next daughter in line would receive the quilts as a gift. And that's you.
I was shocked. Mom hated me. There was no reason she'd want me a part of any family tradition.
I don't even remember the last time you gave me any presents, let alone something like this.
Well, it's your 18th birthday, and it's an old family practice. My mother used to tell me back when we were close that she wanted me to continue it. And you are my daughter after all.
Mom hugged me awkwardly, and I tried to feel happy. Maybe I didn't have to run away from home after all. My mother loved me, but I still couldn't sleep that night. I felt in my gut something was off. That Mom didn't give me that blanket for the reasons I thought she did. Suddenly, I heard voices coming from the other room that sounded like a FaceTime conversation.
I can't believe you made me go through all that work to give Nancy that dung tie blanket. She barely even said thank you. I shouldn't even have to ask you to pass that blanket down to your own daughter. I had to offer to take Nancy for the summer so you'd agree to do it, like I haven't already passed down enough to her. Nancy is prettier than I ever was and won more pageants than I ever did. I did what you told me. I gave her the stupid quilt. What more do you want from me?
Well, that all made more sense. Of course, Mom hadn't changed. And of course, she hadn't grown to love me. I refused to speak to both her and Dad that week. And one night, after Mom went to sleep, I threw the dung-tie quilt into the fire with my strands of hair and 2 generations worth of work. At school, I still saw Gavin, but I avoided him too. After all, I told him I was leaving the country on the last day of the semester. I was taking my finals, but I was panicking because I didn't know any of the answers. I tried to calm myself with deep breaths, when suddenly some kids ran in.
Miss Benson, someone broke into your car.
And that's when Gavin walked in and sat next to me.
We only have like 2 minutes tops. Give me your test. I'll finish it for you.
No, Gavin, I can't ask you to do that.
But he'd already taken my test and was filling in the answers.
Why was he helping me?
So obviously you didn't move to China in the end.
No, not yet, but I still might, just to get away from everything and everybody. I don't understand, Gavin. Why did you do this for me?
Because I still care about you. I know I wasn't ready to kiss you that night at the concert, but part of me regrets that.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want my parents' divorce to scare me away from falling in love. You told me that night, nothing is worth living in fear for.
Gavin pulled me close and I felt my heart skip a beat.
Maybe you're right, Gavin. Because my mom didn't know how to love me doesn't mean there aren't other people out there who do.
You mean, like me?
Slow down, buddy. We're not there yet.
I leaned over and kissed him right then. For the first time in ages, I walked home feeling happy. But when I entered the house, I found Mom sitting in front of the fireplace crying.
I can't believe you burnt the family quilt, a 3-generation quilt.
It wasn't a 3-generation quilt because you were never gonna pass it down to me. You only did it because Dad told you to. You know what? I'm done putting up with this. I'm moving out of this house. I'm not gonna live with you anymore.
That summer, Dad let me stay with him in China, as he promised, and Gavin and I applied to the same college and got in. Even after returning to the US, I didn't see Mom, and I also blocked her phone number. But one night at college, I was awake studying when I got a freaking message from Mom on TikTok begging me to call her.
Oh, honey, I'm so glad you called. I've been wanting to talk to you and make amends for a while.
Too late for that. Mom, I really don't have time to talk. I have midterms tomorrow.
Nancy, you didn't let me finish. I've been seeing a therapist and working through my issues. I want to be better. I want a fresh start.
Well, I am glad to hear you're finally getting help. I know you've been suffering for a while, but I can't just forget the way you've treated me all those years. Maybe one day I can forgive you. I just don't know when that'll be.
I understand. Well, if you ever do want to start over, my home is always open to you. I love you, and I'm sorry about everything.
Thanks, Mom. I've always wanted to hear those words from you.